Hey everybody, this is chapter 11 summary of the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, a book written by him after he escaped from slavery. This is chapter 11, which is the final chapter of the book. Frederick starts off the chapter with a line about how he had been beginning more and more to think about making his escape from slavery. So he says it's about 1838, he started to get restless and thinking more about escaping. He said he was constantly on the lookout for routes to escape. He was at the point now where he had asked his master, Master Thomas, could he work? And at first, the guy says, "No, I don't want you working. You should just let me take care of you and be happy." So apparently, Frederick wasn't happy with that. A couple weeks later, he asked him again, could I go to work? Could I go out and use my skills to find work, to be employed? So he did agree to let him work. This was Master Thomas. He says that he would make $6 a week. And at the end of the week, he had to give his money to his master. And he said most of the time he kept all of it and didn't give Frederick any money back. He says sometimes he gave him 6 cents back out of the $6 that he made throughout the week, just to encourage. He said he thought it was to encourage him, is what he told him. Frederick said this just made him want to escape more and more, but he was very careful not to show like he was upset about wanting to escape. He wanted to act like he was happy, but not too happy. Okay, then he approached another slave owner named Master Hugh and asked him if he could work. He said no to it first, and he agreed to allow him to work. He had to pay Master Hugh $3 a week. He said, rain or shine, no worker working, I had to pay him $3 a week out of my money that I made. So then after talking about his working and stuff like that, he talks about September 3rd, which is the day he escaped. That was the day he said he became free from his chains. He ended up in New York. There was a man named Mr. Ruggles that took him in when he went there. He told Mr. Ruggles that he wanted to go to New York, but Mr. Ruggles thought that wouldn't be safe. He thought it'd be better for him to go to New Bedford. While he was with Mr. Ruggles, he wrote a letter to his then-to-be wife. She then came to where Mr. Ruggles was living with him, and they were married. He then was sent to Newport, where he met a man named Mr. Johnson who was waiting for him there. Okay, when he lived with Mr. Johnson for a couple weeks. When he was there, his name he says his given name that he was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. But he was going around being called Frederick Bailey so that people wouldn't recognize him and things like that. He also thought about changing his name to Frederick Johnson, but in the area where Mr. Johnson was living, there was a lot of Johnsons there, and he thought that might cause him some problems. So he allowed Mr. Johnson, the guy that he was with, the white guy that he was with, to give him a name. And so that's how he got the name Frederick Douglass. That's what Mr. Johnson chose. Upon his arrival in New Bedford, he began to read a newspaper called The Liberator. He read that a lot. He became enlightened and started reading about anti-slavery movements. He became passionate about this. And then he says on August 11th, 1841, that's when he gave his first speech at an anti-slavery meeting. He was asked to speak for the first time. And then that created he started speaking all the time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's not in the book, but I believe he did go on to have his own newspaper and things like that. So that was chapter 11, the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Thank you.